Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Aiden Skass, and I serve as a policy manager with the Chamber of Progress. On behalf of Chamber of Progress, a tech industry association supporting public policies to build a more inclusive society in which all people benefit from technological advancements, I respectfully urge you to oppose HB 570, which would compromise online privacy, harm Louisianan youth by restricting access to vital resources, shift responsibility for safety measures away from social media companies, and raise serious First Amendment concerns. I'm going to bring this a little closer. One of the Chamber of Progress's top priorities is protecting online privacy. We support rules to prevent particularly sensitive data from being used in harmful ways, and we are staunch supporters of efforts to create comprehensive privacy protections. We also strongly support making the internet safe for young people. We have four main concerns with this bill. The first is that HB 570 would undermine the privacy and online experiences of all users. HB 570 requires App Store providers to verify the identity and age of all users upon account creation through commercially available methods that are designed to ensure accuracy. This requirement likely includes government-issued ID checks, credit card verification, and third-party age verification services, all of which are a tremendous encroachment on individual privacy. In fact, determining the age of user will require collecting more data, acting contrary to data minimization efforts. Moreover, many adult users reasonably would prefer not to share their identifying information with online services, creating an unpleasant dilemma for adults. Turn over sensitive personal data to use the high-end smartphone they purchased or to forego the full enjoyment of their mobile device. Second, app developers are better suited than App Store providers to implement customized safety measures. HB 570 places the burden of online safety on App Store providers, requiring them to conduct invasive age verification processes and share that data with app developers. However, app developers who are not liable if they acted in good faith are better positioned to implement tailored safety measures as they have a deeper understanding of their app's features, audiences, and risks. The legislature should not relieve developers of their responsibility to do so, and I know that was mentioned a few times earlier today. Instead, this bill effectively allows large social media companies to evade accountability by shifting responsibility onto App Store providers rather than requiring platforms to implement safety measures specific to their services. These companies have the necessary resources and data to design platform-specific protections, and they should take responsibility for any user safety measures, not offloading their duties through legislation that weakens individualized protections for minors. Whether at the App Store or app level, we caution the legislature to refrain from imposing explicit or de facto age verification mandates. Instead of creating new hurdles, legislation should support recent efforts by companies like Apple, which has introduced new tools to help app developers enhance safety by enabling voluntary age assurances or APIs. These are things like parental consent that we've talked about, rather than disincentivizing them. Additionally, Google is working on a balanced legislative framework that shares responsibility between app stores and developers while protecting children's privacy and parental rights. Our third concern is that consent laws may harm more than they may protect. HB 570 also requires App Store providers to obtain verifiable parental consent from the holder of the affiliated parent account before downloading or purchasing any app, consent that can be easily and arbitrarily revoked. While it is important to encourage parental involvement to ensure minor safety online, parents are not always best suited to control how their child uses a platform. Consent laws, for example, can be weaponized by divorced parents who share custody of a child. If the parents are at odds with each other, they can use consent laws to override each other's decisions, especially when they disagree on what's in the best interest of their child. A few representatives have also mentioned the different scenarios that may come up. Just very quickly, I'd like to include that in 2023, Louisiana had about 51,000 total referrals to child abuse and neglect, most of which were likely perpetrated by parents of the child. Teens who regularly or often go online are also 41% less likely to attempt suicide and 62% less likely to be hospitalized for self-harm than rarely online teens, given the support, connection, and community that teens often find online. Legislation, whether intentionally or not, should not cut young people off the resources they need most, especially when online communities can serve a critical lifeline. Lastly, HB 570 raises major First Amendment issues. Courts have repeatedly struck down age verification laws for broadly restricting access to constitutionally protected speech. The First Amendment safeguards both the right to speech and the right to access information, and any law limiting such access must be narrowly tailored to serve a compelling government interest. Just this month, U.S. District Judge Algernon Marbley permanently struck down an Ohio law that would have required children and teens under 16 to get parental consent to use social media apps. He said the law, quote, resides at the intersection of two unquestionable rights: the rights of children to a significant measure of freedom of speech and expression under the First Amendment, and the rights of parents to direct the upbringing of their children free from unnecessary government intrusion. And in his ruling permanently blocking Arkansas's 2023 Social Media Safety Act, U.S. District Judge Timothy Brooks stated that if the legislature's goal in passing Act 689 was to protect minors from materials or interactions that could harm them online, there is no evidence that the act will be effective in achieving that goal. While we share the goal of protecting children online, we are concerned that this bill could undermine online privacy and disproportionately harm Louisiana's youth by inadvertently restricting access to vital online resources. This broad approach raises serious First Amendment issues on top of that. So for these reasons, we respectfully urge you to oppose HB 570.
All right, thank you. That is the first time I've heard that argument, though, that you feel that teens are safer because they use the internet versus not use the internet. I've never heard that argument, but I don't know. That might be a stretch, in my opinion. But
I would respectfully push back slightly. I think this goes back to the different scenarios, whether it be resources for LGBTQ+, whether resources for those who are being abused.
No, the internet's a wonderful tool. Mm-hmm. I agree, but I don't think that at this point we can sit here with a straight face and say that there is it's only being used for good and the majority of our kids are doing good things on the internet. I think we need to wake up a little bit and realize that there are some bad things on the internet and bad things are happening, and we have to at least try and attempt to make it a safer place for our kids. So just those comments.
Absolutely. And I would just say we agree that we're not saying that it's a place that's only good, but with the concerns that we have posed, I think the bill is also pushing those boundaries, whether it's First Amendment issues or sort of shifting responsibility.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.